Hi, I'm Kelly. Welcome to my video. I'm going to be showing you how to make a crochet face mask. And you may think that doesn't sound very effective, seeing how it's crochet, and I would agree with you. And so that is why this face mask has a liner that is stitched into it on the top and the bottom. And then you can take a coffee filter and slide that in to give you a little more protection. It's made just of single crochets. You do an increase in the center going up this side, then you single crochet across the center, and then you do a decrease going down this side, and then it just has some straps on it. It's pretty simple, and then this side is just a light piece of fabric that is stitched in, and I'll go over everything in the video, and also put the written instructions in the description. So I've broken the supplies into two categories, must-haves and optional. You can make the mask without the optional items, but I'd recommend having those. It's just possible to make without those items. Okay, so we need to start off with a slip knot. I'm doing it very slowly so you can see how to do that. Keep in mind though, this is not really a crochet tutorial, it's a mask tutorial. And now you want to chain 15. When you do get to 15, you will actually chain one more and then turn, and there will be one chain and turn at the end of every row. Then when we start the next row, we skip that chain and we start in the next crochet. So 1, 2, then start going back, and we'll do another 15 going back. Row 2 is exactly the same as row 1. So we'll finish row 1 here and then chain and turn and then do 15 more. And when we go back, remember you're not starting in your chain, you're skipping that chain and going into the first crochet of the previous round. Okay, we're finishing up row 2, so at the end of that row we will chain and turn. And row 3 is our first row with an increase. Something to note is that the increase will only be done every other row. So one way to know if you're on an increase row or not is whether you have a tail on your starting side or not. If you do not have a tail on your starting side, then that is a row you will be doing an increase. And the same goes for the decrease on the opposite side of the mask. For the increase, it will go in the center. So since we have 15 stitches, we will count 7 over and put the increase in the 8th one. The increase consists of 2 additional single crochets, giving you a total of 3 single crochets. Personally, I like to use a marker so that I don't have to keep recounting where my middle is, and I move the marker as I move up the rows. Now I know that's where my 2 additional single crochets will go. It's time for the increase in the center. I remove my marker and then I put 2 additional single crochets for a total of 3 single crochets in the center, and then I put my marker back in the center chain of the 3 I just stitched in, so I still know where my center is. So not the last one, but the middle one of the 3. We're at the end of row 3, so we will chain 1 and turn to start row 4. There are no increases in row 4 because we will alternate our increase. So it will just be single crochets all the way across. And the reminder to let you know if you're on an increase row or not is the tail. If you're on the starting side with the tail, that means you will not be doing an increase in this row. When I get to the center, I will remove the marker, do my single crochet in that spot, and then put the marker back so that I can keep my center position. We're finishing row 4, so we will chain 1 and turn. And starting row 5, which is an increase row, we'll do the same thing we did on row 3, which would be 2 additional single crochets in the center, total of 3 stitches in the center. And now we will alternate an increase row and then just a single crochet row. And we'll do that back and forth until we have a row total of 27. And we will need to do that with our increase row with a total of 27, and then after that with our single crochet row of 27, and then that will complete the increase side of the mask. This is row 12, which will be a total of 27 stitches across, just single crochet. This is the last row of our increase section. So when I get to the center marker here, I'll just take the marker out and not put it back in because we will no longer be doing increases in the center moving forward. And just a reminder, when you are on the side with a tail, that means you are on the side with no increase. And then when we get to the other side of the mask, when you're on the side with the tail, you are on the side with no decrease. This is the beginning of row 15. This begins the 14 row section in the center of the mask, which has no increases and no decreases. We'll just be doing single crochet rows of 27, chaining 1 and turning for the next 14 rows. This is the end of row 2 of 14 of the middle single crochet section. I lose track of where I'm at very easily, so what I like to do is every 2 rows I place a marker, and then I can count the markers to know where I'm at. When I have a total of 7 markers, then I know that I have finished the middle section of 14 rows, and then I can start on the decrease section. This is the end of the single crochet section of 14 rows. When I get to the end, I will chain 1 and turn as we do with all the rows, and I will remove all my markers because those were just for counting and now I don't need them. Now we need to put a marker in the center again because we will be working a decrease going down the other side. We have a total of 27 stitches across, so the center place would be chain 13. So just count across 13, put your marker in, and then you should also have 13 on the other side, and that's how you know you're in the center. This is the beginning of row 29. This will be our first row where we have a decrease. Single crochet 12 across, and then we're going to single crochet 3 together. So we will do 1 before the marker, the one in the marker and the one after the marker, and we will crochet them all together. Okay, we're coming up to our first decrease, and just a reminder, we know it's a decrease side when we do not have the tail there. So I need to remove the marker, and then I will put 3 together. So I put in and pull through like I'm doing a single crochet, but I only do the first part. And I pull through the 3 stitches until I have 4 loops on my hook. Then I pull through all 4 loops, and we have completed our first decrease. Then I put my marker back in, and I continue doing single crochets across to the end. Then I chain 1 and turn. When we turn, we now are on a single crochet across row, and a reminder is that we have the tail there, and this will be 25 stitches across. Going down the decrease side of the mask is similar to the increase side of the mask in that we will be doing a row of decrease and then a row of single crochet, and we will alternate that until we have a total of 15 stitches across, both with the decrease row and then followed by the single crochet row. Once we have both at 15 across, then the decrease section of the mask is complete. I'm coming to the center, and just like on the increase side, when I get to the center, I'll just crochet right across, but not forgetting to put my marker back so that I still keep my placeholder for the center. Okay, we're finishing up the single crochet row, which means the following row will be a decrease row, and I will go over that one more time. We single crochet until we get up to the center, and we stop 1 crochet shy of the center. We'll remove our marker, and then we will go in 1 before, the one that the marker was in, and 1 after, pulling the loop onto the hook until we have 4 loops on our hook, and then we will crochet them all together, making those 3 become 1, and then putting our marker back on and continuing along with single crochet to the end of the row. We will just keep alternating decrease, single crochet row, decrease, until we have done 15 across as our total. Okay, we are now on the last row of the decrease section, so that would just be a single crochet row of 15. When I come across the center, I don't need to worry about putting my marker back in because we're done with marking the center. So I'm going to continue to the end, and there's just a few more steps to finish the crochet part. Okay, coming up to the end of this row, and to finish the mask part, we will just chain 1 and turn, and then do 1 more row of single crochet, so 15 single crochet, and then that will complete the mask part, and then we'll work on the trim and the straps. Now we are going to begin the trim, so we just chain 1, and we just single crochet down the side of the mask, and then we'll go into the first strap, and then we'll single crochet down the other side of the mask and finish the other strap. To begin the first strap, I start with a slip stitch. Then I chain 30, and then I either add or subtract stitches as needed to get it to the size that fits me. Okay, I have my 30 stitches done, and I'm just going to pop in a few single crochets here just to hold it in place so I can test the size. So to do the strap, this one is the completed mask, but I'll show you how to do the strap size. So when you completed the first one, remember the number of chains you did, and then put it on your ear, pull the mask across. And what you want to do is see where this one lines up on this side of your face. And then find that mirror image on this side of your face. And if the mask goes to that same spot that it does on this side, then you know it's the right size. So if you pull your mask across and it ends here, you know that this is not long enough. You need to add some chains. If you pull it across and it ends up coming back here, you know it's gone too far and you need to remove some chains. So since this is the right width, then I do that same number of chains on this side. And then that's how you get it to fit. See? Perfect. At this point, you should have done some trial and error to get that first strap the correct size for your face. Remember the number that you used, and then single crochet across the other side of the mask for that, finishing that trim, and then do the same number of chains on the strap on the opposing side. Once you finish the trim on both sides and are coming up to the end of the second strap, I just pop in a few single crochets to hold it in place, and then I tie it off and weave in my ends. I don't like my ends right on the edge, so I will weave my embroidery needle along the trim to bring it in a little bit so that my end is more in the middle of the mask, and I can cover it with the fabric liner. Here's what it will look like when you finish weaving in both the ends. Now we're ready to begin the liner. I want to note that depending on the thickness of the yarn you use, you can make smaller masks. Like these two you see here, I used a lot thinner yarn and they still cover your mouth and nose. And the one I'm showing you in the tutorial is a little bit thicker yarn, so the mask is just a little bit bigger. So I use a piece of felt-like material as my template. I have a smaller one and a larger one. Please just ignore the ink marks on it. That doesn't mean anything. And so once I cut that out, then I can use that to cut my fabric out each time. For our mask, I'll put both the liners in and see which one will fit best. You want it to be just a little bit bigger than the mask. So the small one is just a little bit too small for our needs. The big one is a little bit on the big side, but it will work fine. We'll just have bigger hems. I'll just be folding a little more fabric under when I hem it. So that's fine. Next, just take your scrap fabric and your template, which you don't need to use the template if you don't want to, and pin it in. I'm probably going to be offending the seamstresses watching this video. I do not have sewing or fabric scissors, and I do not have experience with sewing. Crochet is my strong suit. So you're probably going to see me do a lot of things wrong in the upcoming section, but if I can do it, then anybody can do it. It's pinned in, and then I do a loose cut and cut it out, and then I do a tighter cut after I get the bulk of the fabric cut away. Once it's cut out, you just remove your pins, and again, you're going to see how atrocious these scissors are in just a moment. Please try not to cringe. Next, I fold the piece of material in half, and I need to make some little creases on either side because the mask is not straight across, it's curved, so we need to make sure our fabric is curved as well. So I just make a little triangle and make a crease in the fabric, and then I put my pin on that crease, and then I just eyeball it and do it again pretty closely in size to the other side. It doesn't have to be perfect. Nobody is going to see this side. It's going to be on your face. Before I put my stitches in, I just open it up really quick and set it in and make sure it fits all right, and it does. So now we can put our stitches in. Okay, just thread your needle, and then I take the two ends and I spin them around my finger, and I just twist a little bit, and then I pull it down, and there's a knot at the end. So I just pulled out the pin, and there should be my crease there from when I folded it, and I just weave my needle back and forth down the line as far as I can make it go. Then I pull it through until my knot hits the end, and then I just continue stitching until I've stitched all the way up that side. Then we'll do it to the other side. Once I get to the top, I put a stitch through, and then I put my needle through the circle and then pull it tight. I like to do that 3 times. I'm not sure what people who sew regularly do, so again, sorry if what I'm doing is not technically the correct way, but I just like to make sure it's really tight and snug and not going to come apart. Now we will repeat that process on the opposing side. Now you want to take it and place it in the mask, make sure it fits all right, and then we can do our hems on the left and right side. So I just use the mask to tell me where to make the folds for my hems. So I just fold one side, flip it over, fold the other side. I get it to a place where I like it, and then I will put pins in so that I know where to stitch. Okay, once you put your pins in, throw it back in the mask one more time before you do your stitching, and just make sure that it does indeed fit all right. And it does. So now we can stitch the hem down either side. So I just thread the needle and knot it the same way I did before, and hemming the left and right side is just the same process before, where I go back and forth down the fabric as many times as I can fit it on there, and then I'll pull the needle through and just go all the way down the edge. And knot it 3 times, just like we did before, and then we'll go and do the exact same thing to the other side. Now it's time to affix the liner to the mask. Make sure you have the side that has your weaved in ends so that you can hide them. Place your liner on the mask and get it positioned right in the center, and then fold down the top and bottom. And this time we're actually going to pin it to the mask, because now when we hem it, we'll also be stitching it into the mask at the same time. What I like to do is put one pin on one side and then flip over and put one pin on the other side, rather than doing all my pins at once. And this is so that I can get it positioned correctly first, and it's easier to adjust that way. And then once I get it exactly where I want, then I'll put in the rest of the pins. Now we just need to sew it to the mask. So thread your needle again and knot it off, and then we will attach it. So I like to do my initial stitch on the underside so that my knot is not showing very much, and then I lay it down and put a stitch in pretty much over the top of where the knot is to anchor, and then I just stitch back and forth. I can't really do it like the accordion style I did before because the mask is too thick, so I just do one stitch at a time down the side of the mask, pulling the pins out as I reach them. And when I tie off this side, I do it pretty much just the same as everything else, where I do it 3 times through the loop, pull it tight, and then cut the thread, and then do the exact same thing to the other side. Yay! We're at the end of the mask. So just tying it off, and that's it. It's done. I've been making these more out of necessity, so I'm trying to get as many made as I can. But if you have the time, you can put a cute little animal nose. Like this one, a pig nose would be cute. So now I'll talk about the filter. I use the brown filters that are shaped like a little different than the ones you might envision in your mind. And the reason I use the brown ones is because those are unbleached. Just since it's going to be by your face, probably better not to have bleach. And then see, like, they're not like the foldy up ones you probably think, because these fit better. I'm sure if you do have the foldy up ones, it would work fine. I got this shape because it seemed most conducive to the mask. I just roll it up, put it in, and then unroll it once it's in there. And then I fold in the edges so that it all fits within the liner.